People don't always take care of their objects well.
Right.
Including when that object is a person.
Including when it's a person.
First of all, I was stunned by the fact that you began the project because no one else was doing a documentary on the subject. But what piece of history and all the research and encounters you had in putting this film together made the most impact on you personally, both in what it meant and how it fit into the context of the film?
The most disturbing thing was realizing that, this monument to Robert E. Lee, built in 1884, the first major public Confederate monument in public space, supposedly built defiantly facing the north. This dude was built in New York. It was bronzed just steps off the NYU campus. We have in the film the literal receipt of the Hinsdale Doyle Company contracting with the Robert E. Lee Memorial Association.
Right.
These are receipts, literal receipts of how invested the North was in white supremacy. Our stories are like, so weird that Southerners built those, so weird. But we look at, it's like, where do you think they're getting the bronze? Where do you think that they're getting the stone and the marble? This is coming from New York. Birth of a Nation was made on a sound lot in LA. Yeah. That it's not just racists did their own thing. This was a business.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, what I'm trying to get across in the film, that this is not a fringe lie that the South made up. This is one of the oldest stories in America that America tells itself. We tell ourselves, and mostly, to use your phrasing, mostly white America, tells itself that Columbus discovered this country, that the first Thanksgiving was really peaceful and a friendship festival.
Yeah.
And the other pernicious story we tell ourselves is that the Civil War was about America's failure to compromise, and that there were good people on both sides.
Right.
And after the war, we were able to make up and move on. Frederick Douglass at the time was saying, if war among the whites brought us freedom, what will peace among the whites bring us? And that is the thing that we do not teach in northern schools or southern schools. We talk about it like, and then we all made up, and let's move along and talk about Rockefeller, and now we're at the civil rights era. Let's learn that Rosa Parks was too tired. Like, we skip over all of Jim Crow, and in doing so, we skip over this moment where white northerners and southerners aligned themselves to build a world that was comfortable with violence against black bodies, disenfranchisement of black people, the over-policing of black people, the regular murder of them, the taking away of their rights. And we still see those forces now in Georgia, in DC, in Florida, trying to do the same thing. And one of the reasons we cannot recognize it in the present is because we are not honest about how that made America in the past.
Just a quick question about the impact of The Daily Show having saved our sanity throughout its history.
Yeah.
How are pitch meetings for stories done in the producer's room? And what was your first greenlit story? And why do you think it was approved?
I can't get into too much of the personal creative in The Daily Show, but I will say that, Trevor sees all of the stories that we want to go out on and helps us shape the core of that story, and I had joined the show at the same time as, Boston Spotlight, the Spotlight group at the Boston Globe had done a big expose asking how racist is Boston. So my very first piece at The Daily Show was going out in the field with Roy Wood Jr. to Boston, asking the question, how racist is Boston? And we were asking, white folks were telling Roy, me behind the camera, and white folks were telling Roy, this place is racist. And Roy was saying, how do you know? And they would say, well, I just don't feel it. I've just never personally felt it. And the absurdity of an old white man telling Roy that the city is not racist because he has never
He's never
personally
felt it.
experienced racism. It is almost, I can't tell if the word is ironic or fitting or beautiful, that him and I now are releasing a film into the world that is essentially asking the same questions.
I saw that
Can you
piece.
recognize how white supremacy has built itself into the space around you? Or are you just going by some temperature gauge about what you feel personally?
And finally, you talk about your personal anger in the film based on the conversations with your father and other history. How do you think that anger has manifested itself as a cancer in the Black community? And can there be a reconciling with the depression that comes from that anger? I
So
was fascinated by the fact that you admitted anger at the end of the film after years of not really feeling anger, but really, and then your father said, "Well, now you're part of the part of the community," and
yeah,
I felt bad. Is that's what
totally.
you bonded on?
Totally. I see the framing of the question slightly differently.
Okay,
I think that anger in the Black community is not a cancer. The cancer is white supremacy.
okay,
Anger is our inheritance in the Black community. Anger is what you have in a community that is regularly subject to violence. So the phrasing of the question is like asking a store owner, you know, it seems like your anger as a store owner is keeping you from effectively running the store, and the store owner is saying, "No, the issue is people keep robbing me.
right.
I am upset and I am paranoid and I'm looking around and I can't focus on the register because people continue to rob me." So I think that, I hope the film, is able to shift that frame of, people talk about New Orleans, certainly. People talk about Chicago and the problems that are in those communities as if they are essential to the community, as if there is a cancer growing out. And it is no. The cancer, the tumor is white supremacy.
Yeah.
And what you are seeing is symptoms of of a community that is afflicted with the cancer of white supremacy. And I think what the film is then able to shift and show folks is, and this is what that very community, this is the resilience of that community fighting that cancer off. So when you see me say to my dad, "Dad, you made me angry," there's a reason that he smiles. There's a reason that he's proud. He doesn't go, "That anger's eating us from the inside." He goes, "Good, you made it. Welcome." And I think because that is a badge of honor for those folks who realize, yes, we are in a war and you are angry, and it is that anger that is going to help us protect ourselves and drive out that thing that is making everyone so upset.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.